when I came into Newburyport, a lot of those great programs, your music program, your foreign language program, they were kind of non-existent. So one of my priorities as a superintendent is to bring those programs back. And I want to say, like, after 8 years, those programs are thriving, and we're going to continue to enhance those programs. But as I work with Ethan and the school committee, that is one area that you do not want to go down. You don't go into the classroom and you don't go after programs. That's the last place you even start looking for savings. So I think, with my experience in living through some really tough budget times in 2010 and 9, and working with the great school committee that we have, I think we're all on that same page of maintaining all of these great programs. Just because, as the student said, it's an extension of the classroom, and the impact on those programs that have on the students' lives ties right to the course of a graduate, and they're everlasting. So I just wanted you all, as we go through this year, there's a lot of uncertainty. That's definitely our focus, is to maintain those great programs. And that's not only just music and art, it's also social emotional. We've built up mental health support, where we have adjustment counselors in every building and providing supports for our students that need that support. So those are really, really important to us.
So we actually aren't saying this is meeting until 7, that's what's posted. So if there are people who would like to come up and just share any additional thoughts and things to share, we'll be here. So.
All right, thank you all for coming. This is great. Appreciate it.
I missed you on Friday, Tom.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? Hi,
Sure.
my name is Rich Lyman.
Hey, good to meet you.
My daughter was one of the students here.
Oh, awesome.
I had probably a dumb question. I'm still a newer parent in Newburyport. So when you look at the budget, and I know you're just kind of digging into it, congrats on the new role.
Thank you.
Like, I always think of the federal budget where, like, you've got a certain amount that is just mandatory spend, right? It's either like, on the federal level, it's interest on the debt or entitlement programs or whatever, and then there's a truly discretionary part.
Yep.
When you think about the school budget, if you had to put like rough percentages where there's a percentage of the budget that has to be spent regardless on state requirements, or, is there a portion of it that's just mandatory that no matter how you construct the budgeting process, you really can't get out of that particular spend? So
I mean, certainly, within both on the personnel side and the expense side.
Right.
I think a great example on the non-personnel side is district placements,
Right.
Which can add up to quite a bit.
Yep.
But then you have, to meet the basic.
Yeah, and like, don't you have, maybe it's paid to the Mass Teachers Association, but you've got like pensions and ongoing liabilities from compensation standpoint and stuff like that?
Yeah, so all the health insurance and pension obligations are carried in the city budget.
Yep.
But they're still a mandatory
part of it.
pay. Yeah, same would be for debt service. Mandatory. But if you go through like all the debts or whatever to make sure you're checking off all the boxes. That builds up to a good percentage of
Is
the
it like a quarter or a third, or if you had to like randomly
I would say it's even more like 75%.
Yeah, so which is kind of similar to like the federal or probably state budgets too, right? I just wonder, because I really enjoyed your sketch it out, kind of overview of the budget, and sometimes I think people might not realize with any budget, right, is there's kind of these fixed expenses you can't get out of. You don't want to dismay people as you're trying to communicate about the budget, but at the same time, if 60 to 70 grand is kind of mandated, then you're really talking about 30% here, and those are critical decisions you need to make. But
Yeah, no, that's good feedback though. 'Cause we're trying to look at like a few different places.
Thanks, Ethan. That was a great video. That was very
Yeah.
nice way for people to kind of understand.
I hated hearing my voice.
What's that?
I hated hearing my voice.
Oh, I know. I'm the same way. I can't stand if somebody ever records me speaking and I hear my voice. I'm going to cringe and just go hide. But
Ethan.
Anyway, yeah, it's just a thought. But good stuff, and I do like that 6-minute whatever it was video. It's a great way. Yeah, love it.
This is good though. And your voice, right? You were the voiceover.
You know, I tried to get like a voiceover from you a little bit.
It was nice. Sorry, I actually had a really good tone for it. You know, it wasn't like, oh, this is Ethan. It sounds like you're, no, it was like really nice. It was hard to do. The one thing I was going to that was in here is that when you referenced the vegan smoke video, you said the budget finance comes from finance, unless I misunderstood that slide. I would just check that slide. What did you mean? So maybe you're talking about
I'm like, yeah, where,
I think that was kind of a reminder that needs to happen.
I'm like, are you
I don't think that was, now I get it. All right.
What I love about you guys is she thinks
the brain cells are like melting as they grow, and then I'm like, what is happening? Yeah, bye.
what time you start at? It's gonna be tough rating tomorrow.
You did great. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Nice job, by the way.
Thank you.
Very well prepared.
Mr. Wolf, how are you? How you doing?
It seemed like it went all right.
Hi, Mr. Wolf.
Cassidy, you good to go for tonight?
Yep.
All right. How long is the list?
It's not terribly long, but we got one earlier in the day, and then she sent out like a revised one. So, but it's not terribly long. No, it's like maybe like 2 pages. Yeah.
Awesome. Are you going to stay for a majority of the meeting?
Probably. I don't know. I was at the library before this doing ACT work, so I still have to go back and finish.
Now, have you jumped in on one of the sites?
Yeah, I worked with Sarah Hall this week. I went and canvassed in my neighborhood with her, and then I'm holding a sign for her. Like, go to like the doors, like canvassing the neighborhood. You go to the doors, like you knock on it and see if they answer, and then if they don't answer, you leave like a little card. So I did that with her this week, and then I'm holding a sign for her during the election tomorrow. Yeah, a couple people did.
No, it's right over by the door.
That's a really
I
good
got
experience.
I got a babysitting client
over
for
here.
it,
Yeah.
actually.
We
I
did
met
like a
one,
little,
and she was like,
I saw
and
her,
her
like,
kids came to the door, and I was like talking to them, and I was like, yeah, like I'm a babysitter, and she took my phone number.
No, so I got it.
Yeah.
It's very
I've been doing chemistry work. I was at the library before this doing my ACP. From school at 3:05, and I've been doing chemistry ever since. I went home at 1:30, and then was my debug lecture, and then I babysat from 2:30 to 5:30. Went home, ate dinner, and then went to the library, and I'm here.
My last year, you did it. I'll do it my last year. Damn it.
Just tap me.
That was awesome. So good, so good.
I need a great pizza. Yeah.
good seeing you
I have to
too.
talk to Sarah.
Hi, Mr.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm okay. Oh my gosh, just been doing homework for so long.
Oh,
Like, I worked on chemistry since 3:05 when I got home, up until 6:30.
is there a test coming up or?
Just a lab assessment.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah. So,
You still have a lot of other homework?
yeah, I haven't started anything else yet.
Okay, all right.
But
Well, once you do your
I kind
notes.
of like prioritized it right. So like my class is tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not due tomorrow. So I
Okay.
can do it
Oh, so
later.
that's good. Oh, that's right. You
Yeah.
go A, B, C, D.
Exactly. I
And
already
Wednesdays.
did. I did the rest of it like during lunch.
Oh, so the early release is benefiting you.
Yeah. I worked with this hall for my ACP, and there's a bonus point if I got a selfie with her. So I just went and got a selfie with her.
That's pretty funny.
I'm scared.
I will. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good to see you.
Finally, just like let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously, thank you. Did we get a sign-up sheet for public comment?
Okay. Perfect. Someone was asking, but it was, not quite there. Okay, good. Yeah, there were a couple people who were asking me about where to sign up.
Yeah, I would turn it off. Hi, how are you?
Oh, yeah, I did meet you.
I did meet you. Yes, of course I did.
It was right at the beginning of the year. So did you signed up for the sign holding at
4:30
the
to
boat
6.
house?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But I don't have a sign.
No, it'll be there. Yeah, yeah. I have a friend who's managing those signs. I drove out to Plum Island today.
Doing, Joey?
I've never been to, I'm in North so it's a bit of a hike. So
We can ask. I think that it's too hard.
previously, we were keeping right above it.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, that must be weird, right? You have to edit all those things after in the slide?
Hey, so there's TV.
And if she doesn't want to come out and pick him up, I know he's dark.
TV tilted the wrong way? They have kind of long stakes on it.
That's fine.
Do you have a car where you
I
can
just
flip the
looked
switch?
up and I said, oh.
This way,
So,
just so straight on with our camera.
Right.
That's okay.
So if I get a message back from my friend that that's going to be a problem, I will let you know. Otherwise, you can just leave the sign.
I moved it a little. I'm really just saying. I can still see. I think it's fine. I'm welcome. Like these kids are like written down.
No question where
I had just moved the camera a little bit.
Probably the place.
We'll see what's available. Like, sometimes it's,
You only
Just like
I got 2 in here, but I would think it would start today. As far as I'm aware. If not, it will just flip over to the other action card. Automatically. But maybe format both of them.
Yeah, did you,
You can keep talking in 2 minutes.
we can't start till 7. 6:58.
How do you not fall off that stool?
I know. I feel like we're really far in the air. Yeah. Have you pressed record yet?
All right, welcome to the school committee meeting of, our school committee meeting for the November 3rd, 2025. We'll start with a call to order. Ms. Yell?
Juliet Walker,
Present.
Sarah Hall,
Here.
Kathleen Shaw,
Here.
Brian Callahan,
Here.
Brianna Higgins,
Here.
Andrew Bolger,
Here.
and Mayor Reardon is not here.
All right, if you all stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, and we have 3 folks signed up for public comment, so let me just quickly read you our public comment statement. So please keep to topics within the school committee's scope of authority. We encourage civility. Be mindful of the fact that this is a public meeting which is being live streamed and recorded for all ages in our community. Please be aware that this is not an opportunity for discussion and that you will not receive a response at this time. You will have 2 minutes for your comment, and longer comments can be sent to the school committee email. So if I could invite Amy LeBlanc to come up. And I think we'd like you to come up to the podium if you don't mind. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Good evening, Superintendent.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Good evening, Superintendent Gallagher, school committee, fellow parents, Newburyport residents, and fellow educators. My name is Amy LeBlanc, and I am a parent of a 5th grader at the Mullen. I am also an educator in another district. I am an instructional assistant. I am also currently one of the CPAC coaches for Newburyport CPAC, and I'm a Senate District Coordinator with the MTA. I come to you today to ask you to please join in with 1,000 other local leaders in the fiscal crisis campaign. This follows perfect with what we were just talking about. We want to publicly urge the governor and legislature to take action in the fiscal year 27 budget. This will help support our schools, educators, and students who are all affected by the fiscal crisis. The following are priorities that we feel will bring relief to school districts across the state. Strengthening the special education circuit breaker program. Fixing the Chapter 70 inflation cap. Fully reimbursing regional and non-regional school districts for student transportation costs. Significantly increasing rural school aid. Further mitigating the financial impact of charter schools on traditional public schools. Making targeted investments in the staffing and programs needed to best support our student mental health. These times are just getting harder and harder. We don't know what things are going to look like for our students, teachers, and schools. We need to make sure that those people that support our most vulnerable students have the support that they need. We need to support the mental health of students and staff. Please take this time to scan the QR code that I will present to you in the fiscal crisis letter. We have so many staff that are having to deal with kids hitting them, chairs being thrown at them, hair being pulled. I'm an instructional assistant in an ALPS program. I am having to, lift a student onto the toilet. I'm having to put her onto a table. This is physically hard on my body to have to do this and have to worry about hurting myself, hurting her, and not having enough staff to provide that to. So we need to make sure that we are helping our students and our staff. So I'm gonna leave these with you guys. If you could please scan the QR code. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next person on the agenda is Jean Dorset?
And Deb Mawson.
Okay, the two of you want to come
We're
up?
going to speak to the same.
And if you could just say what community you're from.
My name is Jean Dorsey, and I'm from Salisbury, but I'm also a retired teacher. And I did teach at Newburyport High School in the 80s and the 90s in the business department. So I'm here to ask you to participate in a working session to answer 3 questions about people's readiness or kids' readiness on graduation readiness. What should students know and be able to do by the time they graduate? How should students demonstrate their readiness to graduate? And how can schools pre-K to 12 support these goals? The forum is going to be held at the Salisbury Library on November 13th from 6 to 7:30, and we hope you'll participate. We're trying to get a lot of the communities from the North Shore.
So I'm Deb Mosley. I'm a retired school teacher. My daughter graduated from here. She is now a physician assistant. It's gone. I love being in the school. But MCAS was always very stressful. It stressed out a lot of people, and many of us went to the streets. We worked with our legislators. We worked with people door to door and asked the community to vote the MCAS not as a graduation requirement to be implemented. It was passed. Great. Well, the governor and a whole committee of corporations are putting together the very similar test, and they want to implement it again. So we're trying to kind of intervene at this point. There's a whole group of people that are collecting this information. We are resending it back to the governor. We're resending it to the committee to say, stop, take a look at, this is what the profile of a graduate that we would like to look at, and that we would like the communities to have a direct input instead of implementing again test that teachers will now be kind of locked into teaching to the test once again. So please come, please do let other people know. It's at the Salisbury Library. It's only going to be an hour of your time. You'll be sitting around tables. We'll be taking notes. There'll be people just asking questions. What do you want to see? What kind of portfolios do you want to see, for example, for graduation? We document it. We send it. This is what Newburyport would like to see, and this is going to be collaborated with a lot of other cities.
And it's going to be summarized with other forums. They had one in Cambridge, Somerville, Boston, Lowell, and New Bedford. So that is all being summarized and sent to the governor.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our public comment. We don't have anyone participating in Zoom. So the next item on our agenda is the warrant. School committee chair.
Yep. I move that the following named bills of the Newburyport Public Schools amounting in the aggregate $370,071.80 be approved and forwarded to the city auditor for payment. There are no conflicts.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? The warrant was shared with all of you via email. All right, seeing no discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the vice chair votes aye. Okay, the next item is the approval of meeting minutes for October 20th, 2025. Anyone want to make a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second. Any corrections or discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the vice chair votes aye. Okay, the next item is the student representative report. We have two fine fellows here today. You guys want to just quickly say your names so that people know who you are?
Hi everyone, I'm Cassidy. I'm Anna and I'm a junior. Oh, and I'm a senior. So for our report at the Bres, they're excited to share a recap of Caregiver Conversations, which was a launch of new standards-based progress reports. At the recent Caregiver Conversations coffee hour, families joined staff to learn about the launch of their new standards-based progress reports, an important step in improving how they communicate student learning and growth. Developed collaboratively by teachers and staff over the 2024-2025 school year, the new report card is ready to launch and provides a clearer, more consistent picture of student progress towards Massachusetts learning standards, focusing on growth over time rather than averaged grades. Key updates include a revised reporting timeline, a fall conference in November, and progress reports in January and June, and grading aligned to end-of-year benchmarks. They enjoyed having families in the building to discuss this important topic, and families expressed appreciation for the clarity and transparency of the new system. In other news, at the Mullen, Mullen Drama presents James and the Great Giant Peach Jr. We're so excited to announce this year's musical production. The show will feature a smaller cast of 35 students with no stage crew to ensure every participant has a meaningful role. Auditions are Wednesday, November 19th from 2:15 to 4:15 in Miss Rico's classroom. In November, they will begin the latest version of the Second Step program, which has been in place for many years at the Mullen. This evidence-based program teaches skills for resolving conflicts, working with others, forming healthy relationships, and making good decisions. Homelink letters were shared via Principal Rossi's weekly email that outlines what students will be learning in the coming weeks.
And so for Knock Middle School news, tomorrow at the Knock, all 8th graders will be participating in our annual Veterans Town Hall. For the past 10 years, we have welcomed numerous veterans and active duty members of the armed service from the Newburyport community to share their stories and experiences with our students. We are excited to welcome and honor our veterans. And for the high school news, Dear School Committee, NHS Theater invites you to be their special guest at our fall production, The Great Gatsby. Check in at the box office for your complimentary ticket. We hope to see you at the show. On Thursday, the Red Cross Club will hold a Veterans Day assembly. And based on what they have prepared, this will be as impressive as it was 2 years ago. From the speakers to music, it will be a meaningful and a fitting recognition of our veterans.
All right, super. Thanks to both of you for being here tonight. Feel free to stay and listen, or if you need to duck out, that's fine. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Q1 budget report.
Yes. Mr. Manning's up, he hops right up. All right, let me just give you as we were saying in our listening session, Mr. Manning has hit the ground running. So we're very thankful for his work already with the school finances. And tonight he's just going to kind of give an overview of the Q1 budget report for you guys. And go with Mr. Manning.
All right, so to help keep the school committee up to date on the district's finances, what we've committed to doing is a quarterly update on the district's budget, which will also include balances on all of the other district funding sources as well. So I think we had a great meeting with the FinCom to kind of go through the first iteration of this report. But we're really, looking for it to be something that's, accessible to the public, but also provides, enough detail where the school committee understands what's going on, with the budget. And I'll be back here in January doing the next quarter and then so on. So hopefully we'll just get into a rhythm where that an update will be coming on the budget. So I'll just quickly walk through what I went over with the Finance Subcommittee. So the first page was a look at the FY25 first quarter versus the FY26 first quarter, just comparing how we're spending this year versus the same time last year. The numbers are broken down into our two main spending categories, personnel and non-personnel. Overall first quarter spending was within 0.8% of FY25 spending, which naturally shows consistent and stable spending compared to this same time last year. And I broke the same thing down in a visual format. So the first is personnel. Looking at personnel costs, you'll notice that system-wide spending runs a bit higher than the other cost centers. And really that's because most system-wide staff are year-round employees. So the first quarter includes a full 3 months of expenses. So you would expect spending to be at or near 25% after the first 3 months of the year, compared to the rest of the school-based staff, many of which are teachers whose contract begins September 1st. So for those educators and staff, you're just looking at 1 month's worth of expenditures, which is why most of the school cost centers vary between 9 to 11%, because you do have some year-round employees included in each of the school's cost centers as well. So I think overall, if you look at, personnel across the board, it's within 0.1% of last year's budget. So I'd say, very consistent results with what we would expect. Looking at non-personnel costs, so these tend to run a bit higher early in the year. And really this could be any front-loaded costs such as software, subscriptions, dues, insurance premiums, supplies, service contracts, and anything else that is paid up front for the entire 12 months of the years, or even something like buying supplies for the upcoming school year, stuff like that. But you can also see some fluctuations. For example, if there's a summer maintenance project needed at one school that's not needed at another school, that might cause one to go up slightly higher than the rest, such as you saw at the Bresnahan in the first quarter of last year. They had spent around 35%, whereas this year they've spent around 22% of the budget. So overall, in the non-personnel category, this is tracking slightly ahead of where we were last year, specifically about 5.8% higher. And really this is driven by increased costs for out-of-district placements for students requiring special education services. And on page 5, we've included a summary of the district's revolving and special revenue funds. You can see we have a long list. Each one of these has its own statute in Mass General Law that details what comes into each funding source and how it can be spent. We include the balance at the start of the year, what we're expected to take in during the course of the year, what was budgeted for expenses in the FY26 budget, what's expected to be expended above and beyond that, which brings you to a projected ending balance. And then over on the right-hand side of the chart, we show what the actual fund balance was on September 30th of 2025. And lastly, we just wanted to highlight a few trends of what we're seeing in the budget. Of course, facility maintenance and athletic field costs can vary seasonally from year to year based on what's going on across the district and any safety needs that arise. For example, one that has come up working with our athletics and facilities teams, we've identified some work that is needed to renovate the infield at Pettingill Park, the baseball field, to address some safety needs there, which is approximately $48,000 of the projected expenses that are shown on the previous page. Another, worth mentioning, the preschool tuition revolving fund. If you're looking at the previous slide, it's projected to show a slight deficit at year end. This is just something we're continuing to monitor, whether or not any rates need to be looked at, but we're not really discussing any of that right now. Really, all I would say is that we'll likely need to shift costs slightly to prevent that from going into a deficit. Third bullet point, special education tuition and transportation is up 40.9% compared to the first quarter of 25. So that's an additional $210,000 that we spent during the first quarter of this year that we hadn't spent during the first quarter of FY25. To meet that need, we're projected to spend the entire $2.1 million in FY26 circuit breaker receipts, plus an additional $750,000 of what was carried over from FY25. Lastly, like we've all been talking about, we're monitoring the federal funding landscape. We believe it should be secure for the current fiscal year, but naturally we're closely monitoring and planning for FY27, and just for context, the district receives around $900,000 to $1 million each year in federal grant funding. And that is the first quarter report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manning. Any questions for our Mr. Manning? Mr. Brover?
Yeah. How does it come in? We've talked about this a little bit in FinCom, so apologies. Thank you for this, first of all, and thank you for Ms. Walker for encouraging us and encouraging Mr. Manning to provide this for us quarterly. I think this is going to be really, really helpful to see how things are trending. So thank you for the extra work. It's a great presentation. The obvious concerns or questions about transportation going forward, Superintendent has talked about this a lot over the last 2 years. I mean, this is just trending astronomically. So if there's any sort of, down the road, how might we tackle this would be something to talk about. But before that, on the million that comes in sort of annually on the federal grants that we might not get next year, how does that come in throughout the course of the academic year? I mean, it obviously doesn't come in one lump sum.
Yeah, so it's a combination of, so about $620,000 of that is the IDEA funding,
right.
Which, it only starts to come in once the school year picks up. So some of that is more loaded as we get into the school year, where payments continue. For example, some of them are over, 8 or 10 months, and some could be quarterly, some are, monthly. But yeah, some where we haven't been receiving payments until like September 30th. It really depends on the specific grant program.
Sure. Yeah. I imagine it's not even in balance. Meaning, if the grant is $20,000, it's not like you're getting $5K every quarter.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have some that are based on a cost reimbursement basis too, such as the school lunch program, which is another big piece of it.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
Member Higgins?
How many additional students do we have going out of district this year compared to last year?
I think our numbers are consistent, so I think it's not more students, it's just some of the placements are more expensive. And then we've had a couple move-ins into the district that is some costs that we need to absorb. So I think we're around 22 out of district students at this time. I mean, and that's one of the pieces that Mr. Manning brought up. It's in some of the public comment is the cost of, special education and transportation and not being, fully funded, which we've been talking about for years, eventually is you're gonna have a major impact on many districts. I just know the North Shore Superintendents, we have a great roundtable. We're looking at cost sharing some special education programs and also really cost sharing transportation. So we are talking to neighborhood districts about can we share some of the transportation, especially for the out of district. If, for example, Bainsbury is sending students to Landmark and we have students going to Landmark, can we share that cost instead of each district ordering their own bus? So things like that going on at this time.
Any other questions? Member Hall? Yeah, from page 3 on personnel, I didn't really understand why the system-wide percentage is higher this year versus FY25.
Right, that was due to positions that were budgeted but were just vacant during the same 3-month period.
I see. Okay.
So for example, our finance director's position was not being.
Okay.
We had some other administrative positions that hadn't been filled, and so there's that.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Wilson.
I know this is a complex question, but if in fact the circuit breaker is going to all be spent and the transportation, so that's $748K. I guess the general question is, where is that coming from? Meaning, what are we losing in the process? I mean, that's sort of a hefty number that we weren't dealing with last year.
Yeah, I mean, that's what circuit breaker is for, though. And just remember that it's for expenses that were incurred last year. So this year, of course, higher costs, we'll see a higher reimbursement next year. So I would expect our FY27 receipts to be substantially higher than what we received this year because of the higher expenses that we're seeing now. So I think when we build the FY27 budget, we'll be able to, look out and do a projection on kind of what that slightly higher number might be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Callahan.
Can you talk a little bit about the pre-K deficit, just how that works? Because I presume that those kids all pay to come, and we know what those expenses are ahead of time. How does the revolving fund get into a deficit if we always know what we have fewer kids that attended that gave us fewer receipts, but we still have the staff being paid? It's essentially a private school run by the public school district.
Exactly. So the annual revenue estimate for this year is $175,000. In the budget, $240,000 in expenses were allocated. So it's really a mismatch there. And I mean, there was $50,000 that was carried over from last year, which provides some buffer. But yeah, it's really based on the number of students in the program.
Right, and
So it could have gone down.
Well, the other piece too is students that are identified that have learning disabilities that need support, they don't pay. So they're
So not everybody's paying tuition.
Correct.
Do we know if kids that need support tend to come to the district's pre-K rather than going to a local private?
Yeah, a lot. I mean,
because they don't have to offer those services.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, so
kindergarten is not going to offer those services,
correct,
but the district does. I mean, that's really the only reason we even have pre-K and public school, right? We have to offer services to those kids.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the district wouldn't do it, right?
Correct.
If there are enough locally private options.
Yeah, and it's just better for the student overall, right? If you can get them into the district and start beginning services at age 3
Right.
rather than age 5 or 6, right? The ability to actually teach the student once they get into kindergarten, first grade is a lot more positive of a trajectory.
Okay. Thank you.
And Mr. Manning, I think you mentioned this. I just want to touch on the revolving special fund, revenue fund tracking. I think all of those funds have some intended use purpose, so they're not just there's not ability to kind of, if we have like anticipated but balance that is
is not expended. It's not that we can just reallocate it to something else, because it's a dedicated fund for specific uses.
Exactly, right. Because of course on the city side, you have the free cash, which really is unrestricted. But yeah, each one of these funds has a very specific purpose, and it's tied to a specific statute in the MGL.
Any other questions?
I guess just one more, just because it's
Yeah,
on
go
here
ahead,
and
Callahan.
it's new. How's the daycare thing going? That program?
It's going great. We're actually anticipating increase in revenue. So it's not only is it paying for itself, but we're anticipating by the end of the year that there'll be a surplus. Not a significant surplus, but I think that goes back to a lot of the planning as we were developing the daycare program on how we can self-sustain it without being part of our operational budget. So that's kind of a separate entity that's being self-funded.
So that money wouldn't be as restricted as some of these other ones?
Well, it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I know it's supposed to go back to the
correct.
program.
Yeah.
Save an extra $80,000 somehow one year we could use it for other things. We're not restricted.
I wouldn't, yeah, I mean, I guess I would.
I know you don't want to say we're going to, but
Yeah.
we're not restricted legally from using it for other costs.
Right.
It would need to be related to the daycare program.
Correct.
Oh, it would, no, okay,
Yes,
so it
it
is
would be.
restricted?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to, I just also wanted to clarify one thing. You said, both of you said that special education and transportation is special education, special ed transportation. It's not general transportation.
Correct.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or discussion? Okay, thank you, that was really helpful, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item is the competency determination policy, IKF. This is the first reading, and I believe Ms. Furlong is going to present on this.
Yeah. Assistant Superintendent Furlong will be presenting this and working with all of our district leaders and Dr. Abrams, along with our Teaching and Learning Committee. A lot of work has gone into this, and we feel like we're ready to present it to the committee as a whole for our first reading.
As you know, with the vote changing MCAS as a requirement for graduation, we have some new regulations where we need to define at a local level what was called competency determination. So there's two things that you need to do to graduate. One is you need to complete a certain number of credits, and second is you need to meet competency determination. Competency determination was met in the past by the MCAS. That was how the state knew that a student had taken certain classes and met their competency determination through a passing score in the MCAS. So with the elimination of the MCAS scores, it put onto the local districts the need to define more clearly how are we going to qualify students as having met their competency determination. So within this policy, the beginning part of the policy is the same, it's unchanged, the local graduation requirements. There's no change there in that part of the policy. When you go to section 2 of the policy, this is all new information that comes in regards to the Massachusetts general law of earning a competency determination and showing that through what used to be the MCAS, but now the completion of relevant coursework and a mastery of skills in those areas of English language arts, math, U.S. history, and science. So it's really two parts for the competency determination. Students need to complete the course at a 65% or higher, so they need to pass the course. In addition, they need to show mastery. So it's not just taking the course. So what districts needed to do was define what's that going to look like to show mastery of the skills in each of those 4 course areas. And just to backtrack a little bit, you can see there's different pathways through the courses. English, it's going to take a student 2 years, freshman composition and sophomore composition. Mathematics, it could take 2 to 3 years depending on your math pathway. And for science, any one of the 3, biology, chemistry, or physics, would count towards a competency determination. For U.S. history, Every school has a little bit of a different pathway through the history. It's 1 year required by the state. We have 3 semester classes, so it's kind of any combination of 2 semesters, which meets the competency determination here in Newburyport. Although for graduation, you still have to take all 3. So the work that the high school has done is to define for the mastery part of this, for each course, either a final assessment, this is 1A, either a final assessment, a capstone or portfolio project, or another equivalent measure. And that C piece is in there to allow the district some flexibility as the district moves forward with organizations like MCIEA, where you might have a performance-based assessment come in at some point. So that's what that all means. And Principal Wolf is working with his school council actually tomorrow night there's a lot of detail in here that will be procedural at the high school level that's going to be important for parents to know. So the school council is working with the principal on a presentation to help parents understand this new competency determination. How do you know if your student is meeting it? What do they need to do in order to meet it? It's going to put a little bit more high stakes on some of the in-class assessments, like a final assessment. A student would need to pass that to show mastery in the course in order to gain their competency. And everything else that sort of follows is just regulatory language of us responding to the DESI regulation and the Massachusetts general law requirements, students with disabilities, English learners, late enrolling students, saying if a student transfers in, how are we going to decide if the student has met competency determination? Even if they have met competency determination in the school they came from, we need to determine from our perspective. So similar to like if someone transfers in, your guidance department is going to do a transcript review. We'll have a procedure for doing the competency determination review as well. There's an appeals process in place. There'll be a panel that they would have had a panel kind of in place to help students who were not passing their MCAS do their personalized plans. So we'll use a similar process for that. There's an opportunity for students who may not have gotten a diploma because of not passing the MCAS. That's built in here. We had already discussed that. The school committee already had a policy for that. Previous to that, that's not new for this particular moment in time. And then just a little bit of details of connections to some of the handbook policies for parents. So this is the district level policy. Following underneath will be some procedural work that will come from Andy on the specific classes, the specific assignments, and all of that will be submitted to the Department of Education. This policy needs to be, or a policy needs to be approved by the school committee by December 31st and submitted along with our competency determination template to the Department of Ed by the end of the year, the end of the calendar year. That's a lot of me talking. Any questions on that? Any questions? I think we're in a good place. The high school has a very strong instructional leadership team. We saw this coming all last spring. And a lot of the work that we were doing with Portrait of the Graduate has gotten us involved in some performance-based assessments. And Principal Wolf has done a lot of work in sort of ensuring that every course across the high school has shared common assessments. That work really set the stage for us to be able to move pretty easily into these conversations with all of our, what would have been called department chairs, but now we call instructional leaders.
You kind of answered the question I had, which was what has shifted having had to go through this work? And that speaks to it a bit. I mean, are these things that you would have liked to have seen? Has it shifted anything in terms of the curriculum?
I think it just puts you in a position of it hasn't changed the standards. The standards are the same, what we teach and how we teach it. How we assess it at a common level, and what we determine is that piece of mastery that we can use towards the competency determination, identifying that and ensuring that that feels like a good shared common assessment or portfolio or potentially performance assessment. Those conversations have been, I think, excellent in terms of identifying, ensuring that the assessment is aligned to the standard, how do we ensure that students are showing that they have competency in those particular standards? So those are great conversations. Principal Wolf was having those anyways with his team. It's just kind of upping the ante on picking one or two particular assessments for that course.
Great, I'm glad to hear that you feel that's been beneficial.
Yeah.
Great, any other questions? Thank you for all the work on this. So this is a first reading, so we don't have to take any action. We'll have a second reading at the next meeting, unless anyone wants to refer this to the policy subcommittee, because we did not get a chance to add this to our agenda. But if people feel comfortable with, I mean, primarily the work has been done by staff, so it didn't really seem necessary to have the policy subcommittee review it.
The teaching and learning committee did review it, and we had no concerns and discussed it.
Good, all right, so if everyone's okay with this approach, we'll just do second reading at the next meeting. That's fine.
Great.
Sounds good. All right, so the next item is everybody's favorite time of year, the Mass Resolutions Review, which is the MASC conference coming up, a delegate meeting in a couple of weeks, actually next week. And I will be your representative. So we should review the resolutions that are proposed and vote or share input with me about whether we would support this as a body. Typically, we would vote on each resolution. There actually is only one resolution that's new, and then the rest are reauthorizations of previously approved resolutions. So maybe we'll start with resolution 1, and then we can decide how we want to go with the other reauthorizations. So the resolution 1 is entitled Removing BMI Testing from Schools, and there's a explanation in the packet. This was submitted by the Graphic School Committee, and it would basically support that MASC would urge the removal of the BMI screening requirement for all public schools, in this explanation in the body of the resolution as to why. Again, resolutions are non-binding in terms of, we don't set laws with them, but the MASC as a body can base their advocacy at the legislative level based on those resolutions. So it sort of unites our voice behind certain topics and issues that can then be sometimes legislated and sometimes not.
I just have a question.
Yes.
Perhaps I've not been paying attention for 15 years. But when do they do this? When do the kids get a BMI test?
It's for their health screening.
Part of the health screening.
And then we get informed of it? It's like, when does that happen?
You mean
3rd grade,
parents
8th grade?
lead parents?
Yeah.
I don't know how often it happens, but I definitely remember it getting, yeah.
I do think BMI is a ridiculous measure in any case, so sure.
Yes, I would agree.
I'm in support.
Okay,
of
yeah,
this
anybody, all right, so
resolution.
someone want to just, somebody want to just make a motion that will support this resolution?
I move that we support Resolution 1, removing BMI testing from schools.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Okay, so the next one is reauthorization of previously approved resolutions. There are 6 that are expiring, so basically, once we pass a resolution at the Delegate Assembly, they have a 3-year term, and then they can expire after that 3-year term unless we vote to renew them. And the reason for that is to sort of, there were a lot of resolutions that no longer were relevant, and they were sort of sitting on the books, and there was this idea that maybe at some point we needed to revisit those so that they don't just stay there, particularly if MASC takes a different direction in terms of their priorities. It sort of helps, again, provide the direction to those advocating at the state level about what's important. So I don't know if, I don't have a lot of insight, honestly, on these. I don't know if others do, about whether things have happened that make them no longer relevant. The first one is regarding sanctuary laws for transgender students. I don't think anything has necessarily changed, but I don't know what the outcome has been of MASC in terms of advocacy. Yeah, so I don't have much else to say about those. I guess one approach we could consider is if you all wanted to empower me to just basically read the room and determine if these were still relevant. Because there is usually a presentation at the delegate assembly, and they'll typically, the advocate, those who want this to be renewed will stand up and say, you know, we should pass it again, here's why. If you wanted to just invest in me that power to make that decision, well, because it has been previously approved, so it's sort of like a redundancy on the vote. People have specific concerns.
I move to empower Member Walker with that power.
With that power to just decide?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, thanks, that was easy, that was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. Okay. Okay, so moving on, we have subcommittee updates. Mr. Callahan.
Yes, we met last Thursday. Notes here. We talked about budget transfers, including a large fiscal year 25 year-end transfer request that passed. It was to close out non-salary related expenses because the DESC requires a report to be submitted to at the end of October, but then the things that Mr. Manning was talking about during his budget presentation happened, full year staff and so on. So it was I forget the number offhand, but it was well above the number we were required to vote to. The FY26 budget updates, which we all just saw the presentation of, a little preview of that. One of our student activity accounts and their balances as of the end of September. They all seem fine. To me, I had a couple questions. The German club seemed to have a high balance, but I guess it's common for that to happen. They haven't done anything yet, so there's just a bunch of money sitting there. And then the budget planning for 27. Went over the timeline, which is November 3rd today. And then the 18th to join the school committee city council budget workshop, which I really hope is more of a conversation. In previous years, you know, Mr. Manning would come up and talk to the mayor, and then it seemed like we were kind of just in the audience, really, the school district. We weren't really part of it. It was more like the city council asking the finance director questions, and then us just observing. So I don't know how that's going to work. Is Mr. Manning still here? No. Oh, he is. So if you're planning to do some little soft shoe or something on the school's side during that meeting, that'd be great. Yeah.
Mr. Callahan, I think that's a good point. I think one thing that I've noticed in the past, yeah, it's either the finance director of the city or the superintendent gets kind of grilled.
Yeah.
And I think both of them. And I think that I would also agree, I think it's good to have a dialogue between city councilors and school committee members about shared priorities, things that we observe to be challenges, things that we, just to give insight into what we're thinking so that we aren't surprised if somebody says, you know, I want to cut X, Y, and Z, or I want to increase the budget for this, that we don't get told that at the last minute. So I hope it's an open dialogue, sharing of priorities between the deciders who will eventually be voting on the budgets, and less of the focus on staff. I do like that staff provides us with the, you know, basic framework, but I personally feel that it should really just be an exchange of information between them.
And this year will be funny because it'll be a big changeover a couple weeks later on the council side.
That's right. So I mean, I'm happy to relay that also to the mayor, maybe have some conversation, but you could also do the same. It's the mayor's meeting.
That was it. There were donuts.
There were donuts. So
Courtesy Mr. Bower.
Any questions for the finance subcommittee chair?
I think if that's the intent, to have a conversation, we should be prepared to help generate that.
Yes.
Because we work here, you kind of have to grease the wheels.
Yeah, maybe we can come up with some things. Okay, policy subcommittee, we have, Ms. Shaw, would you like to introduce these, or would you like to?
I can introduce them. So great. We have the first read. If anyone has any questions, we have the walkers and riders. There were just some changes from students to Newburyport residents.
Is that because some kids don't live in Newburyport?
Yeah, that's the school,
Yes.
school choice.
And so there was some question about, does this policy then allow people who are non-residents to somehow get treated differently?
Right, which we don't provide.
We don't.
Right, and it's like conflict with the school choice, like when people choice in, they're not, they have to provide their own transportation according to the law, so.
Computer. So the next one, and these are from the MASC model. So these are proposals for the personnel use of technology. So you didn't make any changes to that?
We just, I think, just made
It's
sure it was
true.
relevant to.
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
We added a few things that were suggestions from the staff.
And then, let's see. Next one, access to digital resources.
So R and INJND, from what I remember, is quite lengthy. Is this true? Am I remembering this correctly?
Yes.
So this was, the suggestion was just to replace that existing IJND with a new one.
This one is like
concise.
Yes.
Yeah,
very
and
concise.
unfortunately, I think this is my oversight. We didn't include the existing, which we can next time, but it's, the existing, I think, is quite extensive, and it's more about like things that are procedures and that are typically included in handbooks and guidebooks.
And about the district website and social media, so, which is also very concise.
Yeah, so some of the highlights are clarifying the intention of social media and websites to basically, not have them just be a free-for-all, that there is some oversight from the superintendent. The idea is, we know that there's some social media that exists that, has been in existence for a few years, but the idea is if any new social media were to be created, or social media accounts, that generally they would be done under the approval of the superintendent, so that we can kind of try to rein in any misperceptions about where to get information. But overall, this is sort of just reaffirming sort of our district practices. It's just sort of tightening it up a bit, but not really anything new.
So, just to be clear, the two policies that have the word new next to them, these are brand new policies, right? They're not.
They are brand new.
Replacing or
correct.
anything.
They were previously sort of probably covered, like I believe we, IJND or IJNDC actually was called something different. So they're actually sort of splitting them apart from what our current policies are and just giving them their own specific policies.
Okay, so it's not, so it may be information that was relayed
Yes.
in a different place, but now it's here.
Yes.
Yeah, I do like the way we're clarifying some of this, because we've talked about some of these things for a number of years now. I know that we're also trying to move as much as we can towards using the app as opposed to particularly social media for communications. Is there any way to communicate that through policy, or would we even want to do that? I'm not sure. Just putting it out there.
No, I think it's more like a procedure, like for us. I think that's what's been great with the policy committee and input is a lot of like pulling out the procedures, like daily, that you see in handbooks and, all of that type of stuff.
Because that could change.
Correct.
Right.
This is more in general, making sure we're following the guidelines and the laws, but the specifics of carrying out these policies are articulated in like the student handbook, teaching handbooks, things like that.
Member Hall, you actually raised a good point though, because one of the concerns that we've heard from through our discussions about digital access and so forth is that there are a lot of different apps used by different classroom, in different classroom settings and different
Sports teams.
and different extracurricular activities. From staff's perspective, is there guidance on that, or is that something we should cover in the policy?
No, I think that goes back to, going back to like our procedures. So when we've been meeting with our, teachers, our coaches, showing them, the app and the resources that we have within district and pushing our students and coaches and like that to start utilizing the apps that we've been.
Right, but I guess sometimes there's lack of, different, how much does that happen now that different teachers will use an app that's specific to a classroom for like communicating? It's like a Remind or something, like there's all these different apps that people use. There's like, that's one, but I know.
I didn't realize that. Is that true? Teachers will communicate with their class via a separate app?
Well, that's what, maybe that's no longer happening, but it was for a while. It was in the elementary and middle school. There was, like, your classroom teacher would set up some kind of communication mechanism.
We've been like within the classroom really trying to utilize the Google Suite within, so setting up your websites and things like that through Google, which
so having one consistent platform versus multiple.
Yeah.
I think there were sports were communicating via.
Well, they're still doing that.
I think they still are. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're reining it in, so to speak.
Okay, yeah, so that's
Right.
happening. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, and I
it
think
is
that.
definitely happening.
So maybe there's, to your point, Member Hall, I mean, I wonder if there's just an opportunity to sort of include apps in that, so district website, social media, and related supporting platforms or something like that. We could just make sure that's covered. I mean, I think it is by extension, but we want to.
Yeah, just whatever we can do to support this kind of streamlining of communications.
Anything else? Any other questions or discussion? All right, so we'll bring these forward for the next second read at the next meeting. All right, communications subcommittee, Member Hall.
So I'm looking to schedule a meeting for later this month. When I checked the meetings calendar, I saw FinCom November 20th at 8:30. Is that correct?
That is what I have as well.
Okay, so.
And that was a strange date. I forget why we had to do that.
Okay, I was just wondering if we could meet right after. That seemed to work well the last time. We did it the last time, and it seemed to work well for everyone. You're there. I come on in.
Donuts.
It could be.
It's a whole thing.
It could be a donut.
2 bags of donuts.
Would you rather it be 9:30 or 10?
Well, we're at 8:30, right? So yeah, 9:30.
9:30.
I mean, we could probably really do 45 minutes for our meeting, so we could even start earlier. Right?
Well, let's say 9:30. You can have a little break in there if you need it.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay. So I'll plan for 9:30, and we will be talking about the transition plan and potentially sunsetting the communications subcommittee. So, Ms. Yell, do you want me to follow up with an email to you about the timing for that meeting?
You can if you want, I got it.
You got it? Okay. Yep, so November 20th, 9:30, and hopefully we can just use the conference room space. Thank you. All right, all set.
Great. All right, teaching and learning subcommittee.
So I think, did somebody else report out at our last meeting that was not? Yes. Okay.
Feel like I did? I
think you did.
It's a little fuzzy now, but yes, I think so.
We talked about the ECP report and the CD policy, so both of those have been presented to the full subcommittee now. Our next meeting is November 19th.
Great. Do you know what the topic's going to be?
That will be a preview of the MCAS data.
Okay. So, Mr. Boger, did you?
Yeah, I was just going to ask the time of that meeting, and if it's okay for other members to attend.
Is it 6 o'clock?
6 or 6:30? Thanks, Joe. 6 o'clock.
So I think it's your standard practice, Ms. Yell, but if you could just make sure that's posted as a meeting as a whole.
It is.
Yeah, so that's standard practice, Mr. Boger. So.
Where do you guys meet?
The Knox Library.
Thank you.
What did you?
November 19th.
So, superintendent's report.
All right, we have some nice events that we attended the last couple of weeks since our last meeting. So the first one was the Essex County Asset Builder Breakfast, which is that annual building asset builder. Andy Egmont, along, is partnering with our law enforcement, schools, and other agencies that work directly with children. It was just well attended, and then just really you see a lot of the work that's going in the Cape Ann League regarding supporting students inside and outside of school, and having those wonderful community partners just makes a positive impact for those students and the families. And once again, some of those programs, when we're talking about some of the uncertainty coming out of DC, this was also the talk. A lot of these extra programs for our youth, through all these different agencies, are going to be impacted or potentially impacted. So it was kind of good for all of us to kind of get together. So Andy Egmont does an amazing job, and we're really happy. This is an awesome picture of the Mullen School at our Neighbors Table Community Stars Award. It's a new award, and I'm going to talk about our Neighbors Table Breakfast, but our Mullen School, under Principal Rossi and the administration and the teachers, did really like a food drive for our Neighbors Table, but really incorporated it into the literacy lessons where the students were reading books about understanding food insecurity, and it was really tied, to the fundraising of that. And it was a 2-week fundraising for our Neighbors Table, and they anticipated maybe $1,500, but those students raised $15,000 to our Neighbors Table, one of the biggest donations last year. And all of the donors and people at that breakfast were just totally taken back by our school, the students, and the incredible efforts that our kids did. So it was an awesome breakfast, and I was just really proud to be part of that celebration. What I would like to do is at some point in school committee bring in some of those key students, but also some of those teachers, and recognize them, for their efforts. It was a great morning. We had an annual Rotary Dictionary distribution. So that was at the Bresnahan, where all the third graders got their personal dictionaries. It was a lot of fun handing them out with some different activities. The kids, I think today's day and age, when students receive an actual dictionary, it's like a novelty, and they were all excited about these dictionaries, and we're all kind of laughing,
How big are they? Are they like these huge
Yeah,
things?
it's really cool. I mean, there's all kinds of, pictures in there, and the kids are all excited, and teachers, in the back. It was awesome. And the teachers, the Bresnahan teachers designed a lesson around that. And so it was really great. And just want to thank the Rotary for that donation. And they do it every year. So wonderful day. And last but not least is we had our circuit breaker audit, which happens every 3 to 5 years, where the state comes in for a couple days. They go through our circuit breaker funding and expenses. And I just want to credit Gail Phillips as like an unsung hero. She's an administrative assistant out of the special education office, along obviously with Ethan and Brad Brooks. But the state would like to have Gail and our team kind of go out to other districts and kind of show how it should be done. With the millions of dollars that is coming into the schools and going out of the school district, I think we were 2,000 in favor. That they couldn't believe how accurate the accounting was. So I just want to credit that team and real Gail Phillips for her efforts in monitoring circuit breaker. So it was a positive audit, and they'll be back in another 3 years. So
Great. Well, good. Kudos to staff. That's awesome. Any questions for the superintendent?
I just one last thing is it'd probably be under new business, but since I have the floor, I did send out, with the SNAP funding, I did send out a communication, how to help our neighbors in need. So we're doing a baby formula drive from tonight all the way November 21st. And any people out there that are listening that want to donate baby formula, they can just bring it into the school offices and we'll be collecting those. And then also just a reminder for the food pantry, any type of support, if it's food or monetary donations, things like that. You know, obviously the people throughout the country, Massachusetts, but directly in Newburyport and surrounding areas are going to need our support, I think, in the next few weeks.
Yeah, in addition to our neighbors table, there's also Among Friends at St. Paul's, and I'm sure there's others that
Yeah, the Newbury Food Pantry.
Newbury Food Pantry.
Newbury Food Pantry, that's right.
Can students bring in those donations just
Yes.
directly to their class?
Yeah.
Or does it have to go to the, you know?
They can bring them to the class and then they can go to the main office. But yeah, any type of donations that want to come in, the schools will assist with making sure it gets to the right place.
Is there a particular demand for baby formula?
That's, I think, the one piece from talking to some of the, like our neighbors table, that's, I guess, going to be a big need. So that's kind of what we're kind of focused on, is the baby formula. But, you know, obviously we'll take other donations that people can think of.
That's great. Thanks for doing that.
All right. Any questions, other questions, Superintendent? Okay, any new business items? Okay, I have just one, which is just sort of a general recognition of the fact that we had a student hit by a van on High Street this week, which is unfortunately has happened a few times since we had in Newburyport. But very fortunately, this student was not seriously injured, which we were very relieved by. But I have heard from folks, and I'm sure you have as well, related to students walking a bike to school and the concern about overall safety in the community. And we've had prior conversations about crossing guards and the challenge we've had with staffing crossing guards, but also the increased kind of concern about not having folks, live bodies at crosswalks to assist with people getting to and from school. I appreciate the superintendent had an opportunity to talk to the marshal and so forth about that specific incident. But I would say that me personally, I would like us to try to think of a solution collaboratively with the city and the police and other public safety folks about how we can work to improve safety and for our students getting to and from school. And I do think, even though we don't have jurisdiction over our streets and sidewalks, and I think we can use our voice as representatives of the students to maybe just sort of figure out ways that we can come up with some immediate solutions to improve safety, and then maybe there's some longer term solutions that need to happen as well. But you know, when it comes to our kids getting around the community, I feel like there shouldn't be any excuses. So I just wanted to say that, and I appreciate that the school was responsive to that situation. Yeah.
I did have a question about that. Well, it's not in our purview. What is the discussion been with the police department, and can we get more police out on the streets during, you know, the to and from school half hours?
I would say that I can start by, and then maybe Sabrina has more. I have reached out to the mayor and the police in the past, and I know that they do have staffing issues. As with other city departments, they also have a hard time filling their positions. And so for them, to staff a location with a dedicated officer is challenging. I do know that the marshal has made a concerted effort to try to improve safety as you know, on the roads, and I think there has been more visibility, and they have been trying to rotate between the different crossing locations, but it's not happening on a regular basis, based on my own perception. another very positive thing that they've done is they have an officer accompanying the bike bus on bike, which has been really cool, but also he is not able to go every week. So I think they have some challenges when it comes to staffing. I don't know if that's been communicated.
It's very similar, and I think our start and dismissal time is kind of like a shift change for them also. So a lot of the officers come in for roll call, and it's right at that time. But the marshal has been great. When a patrol officer is free, you might see them in the morning or in the afternoon, where they'll, put the lights on, by when the students are getting out. I also had some, suggestions and just driving into Cambridge throughout the summer. One thing that Cambridge has done, especially in those high traffic areas, is really, they utilize a crosswalk, but it's painted like a dark red, and like as you're driving, you see this big, you know what I mean? It makes you slow down, like, kind of what that is. Yeah, I think that might help, and not in every crosswalk, but maybe on High Street, just so it's a lot more visible with with those lights. But I do agree with the vice chair. I think it's something that collectively as a community, especially on High Street, some of our busier streets, and the other piece, this is the lack of crossing guards is not just the Newburyport Public Schools. It's something that when we go to the North Shore superintendents, these jobs with people retiring, they're very hard to fill. And so some of the struggles that we have is also, throughout the North Shore, especially at the busy crosswalks. But I do believe collectively, when we've come together as a community, we kind of figure things out. But I would agree 100% that we should all kind of work together and try to provide, extra support for the kids that come to school every day.
Vote tomorrow.
Thank you.
7 a.m., 8 p.m. Your local polling
7
station.
to 8, yes. Any other new business? All right, then I accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey, we were talking about crossing.